Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to SportStatMedia with me, your host, Michael, for a look at a 2020 season preview for the Cincinnati Reds. Before I get started on our 2020 preview for the Reds, I want to give a quick shout out to my friend music producer DigiDon, who created our intro baseball beat that you just heard. Much appreciation to you, DigiDon. Please stop by to check out his Twitter at @thereal_DigiDon. Alright, let's take a look at this 2020 Cincy Reds team, who I believe has a lot of potential for this season. I want to begin by reviewing some key newcomers to the Reds organization. Over the offseason, the Reds have acquired outfielder Shogo Akiyama, outfielder Nicholas Castellanos, relief pitcher Pedro STROP, second baseman Mike MOUSTAKAS, starting pitcher Wade Miley, and relief pitcher Nate Jones. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about Akiyama because I'm excited about the potential of him as a leadoff man for the Reds. While he may not have the hype that other fellow Japanese stars such as Hideo Nomo, Hideki Matsui, Ichiro Suzuki, Nori Aoki, or Shohei Ohtani have had in the past, I feel that he could be a great table setter for the Reds team. In his previous 5 seasons with the Cebu Lions in the Japanese Pacific League, he had an average on-base percentage of 39.9%, which is outstanding. The closer you can get to an OBP of 40%, the better for your leadoff hitter, giving the 2, 3, and 4 hitters in the lineup a chance to pick up RBIs for the team. Over the past few seasons, the Reds have not really had a great leadoff hitter that consistently gets on base at a high rate, let alone gets on base at a high rate and possesses decent speed and some pop in the bat. In recent years, the Reds had Billy Hamilton batting leadoff. Billy Hamilton is a talented player that I really enjoyed watching, who can absolutely fly on the base paths, but he did not excel at getting on base, possessing a career OBP of 29.7%. In 2019, the Reds tried a plethora of different people at the leadoff spot, including Phil Ervin, Joey Votto, Josh Van Meter, Nick Senzel, Scott Schebler, Alex Blandino, and Jesse Winker. The 2 most successful of the bunch, Votto and Winker, who both had a 35.7 OBP, I feel are better suited to hit a little further down in the order with a chance of driving their teammates in. As long as Akiyama's numbers translate to the MLB stage reasonably well, and he doesn't struggle to transition to MLB, for example, like Hideki Irabu, Akiyama looks posed to have the tools to be the leadoff hitter the Reds need. Aside from his ability to drive balls into the gap, which is evidenced by 5 years in a row of 30-plus doubles and 5 to 10 triples, the biggest reason I like him leading off for the Reds is answered by the following clip from the movie Moneyball. Cincinnati also added outfielder Nicholas Castellanos, who should bring some added thunder to the Reds lineup. Castellanos will likely hit somewhere from 270 to 290 and hit 20 to 25 homers, and be a good RBI man for the Reds team. He may have the potential to produce higher home run and RBI numbers, given that he will be playing at the more hitter-friendly Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, as opposed to the ballpark with bigger dimensions in Detroit at Comerica Park. Moving out to the bullpen, Cincinnati also added veteran pitcher Pedro STROP to bolster their bullpen staff. I really like this addition to their pen, and I feel like STROP will help solidify the Reds' ability to preserve leads. STROP is battle-tested, he has been in lots of pressure-packed situations, and knows how to respond. He's proven to be very durable and consistent, as shown by having 50-plus appearances and 25-plus holds in each of his last 5 seasons. Pedro will be able to perform for the Reds as a middle reliever or as a setup man, maybe one of those 7th inning or 8th inning guys that can hold the lead and get it to the 9th for the closer. Solid acquisition by the Reds. Another addition to this year's Reds team is veteran Mike MOUSTAKAS. He will bring a great deal of experience to the Reds team, having been a part of 2 World Series appearances with the Kansas City Royals previously, and should be able to help create a winning culture in the dugout. Moustakas has a great bat and will join Castellanos as another good RBI man in the lineup, and is also someone that could provide protection for Suarez following him in the lineup. In each of his last 4 seasons, Mike has hit at least 25 home runs and driven in at least 85 runs. Another great pickup by the Reds. Cincinnati also shored up the back end of their rotation by bringing in Wade Miley to perform as the 5th starter in this deep Reds starting rotation. In Miley, the Reds will be getting a dependable arm capable of eating up innings and bringing a career ERA of 4.23. He is coming off of a 14-6 season in 2019, in which he started 33 games, posting an ERA of 3.98, while tossing 167 innings with a whip of 1.35. I think he will be a great number 5 for the Reds pitching staff. While he is currently a non-roster invitee going into spring training, I look for Nate Jones to make the Reds opening day roster. Nate had a number of quality seasons for the Chicago White Sox and is a good bullpen arm, coming in with a career ERA of 3.12 and a career whip of 1.22. Nate has also had a lot of game high-tension experience, which I think can be of a great benefit to the 2020 Reds team. Let's go ahead and look at the projected starting rotation for the Cincinnati Reds 2020 campaign. At the top, they have their ace, Luis Castillo, coming off of his best season at the big league level in 2019. Last season, he started 32 games, posting a 15-8 record while averaging better than a strikeout per inning. Castillo had a 1.14 whip and a 3.40 ERA over his 190 innings pitched in 2019. He features a 4-seam and 2-seam fastball with good velocity, and also a circle change and slider, both of which he has good movement on. Luis was an all-star selection in 2019 and looks to be posed for a strong 2020 for Cincinnati. The Reds will also feature Sonny Gray in their pitching rotation as their number 2 starter. Along with Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray also received the nod for an NL All-Star appearance in 2019. He started 31 games and compiled an 11-8 record while tossing 175 innings with an impressive 2.87 ERA and low 1.08 whip. Gray also averaged better than a strikeout an inning in 2019. Sonny has a 5-pitch repertoire made up of a 2-seam and 4-seam fastball, a 12-6 curveball, a slider, and a changeup. While his 4-seamer and 2-seamer top out at roughly 93 miles an hour and may not blow batters away, his breaking stuff has filthy movement. With a lineup that looks ready to produce lots of runs this year, Gray could put up a great 1-loss record if he can duplicate his ERA numbers from last season. Cincinnati's number 3 starter will be Trevor Bauer. He had a good start to the 2019 season with Cleveland, going 9-8 with a 3.79 ERA over 24 games started. However, after coming to Cincy, he had a 2-5 record and his ERA ballooned to 6.39 and 10 starts for the Reds. Bauer has been a pretty consistent pitcher over his career, and I'd look for him to have a good season for the Reds with a decent win-loss record and an ERA in the low 4s. Trevor is a reliable arm, having hurled over 175 innings in each of his last 6 seasons, and is a power pitcher that's piled up more strikeouts than innings pitched in all of his last 4 seasons. Bauer features a lively 4-seam fastball that tops out at roughly 95, 96, along with a cutter, slider, circle change, and a knuckle curve, all of which have pretty good movement, good break. The number 4 arm in the rotation for the Reds this year will be Anthony DESCLAFANI. He had a good 2019, going 500 with a 9-9 win-loss record. He has a career ERA of 4.13 and a career whip of 1.27. Anthony throws a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer with good velocity, maxing out at about 96, and also features a slider, changeup, and knuckle curve. Anthony pairs with new addition Wade Miley, who we discussed earlier, to form a solid back end of the Reds' 5-man rotation. Moving out to the bullpen, the Reds look to have a deep pool of pitchers that can help preserve a lead or keep the game tight and give the Reds offense a chance to rally back. It will be important to remember the new rule MLB has put in place this season that relievers coming out of the bullpen must face a minimum of 3 batters or close out an inning. They have to do one of the two before a pitching change can be made. So they either have to face a minimum of 3 batters, or let's say they come in and there's already 1 out, they have to finish out the inning if they don't face at least 3 batters. So one of those 2 has to happen before you can make a pitching change. I really don't care for this new rule. I really like the old rules that have been in place for a long time, that you could go to a new reliever at any time out of the pen, maybe for lefty-righty matchups or personal success in past meetings with certain pitcher-hitter matchups. Facing 3 batters in a row, it may not seem like much, but if a reliever comes in to a tight game at a difficult situation and just doesn't have his best stuff that day, he could get shelled by the opposition, and it could really change the complexion of the game. With that being said, having good arms out in the pen will be very important this year. Since we've already discussed Pedro Strop and Nate Jones, we can now turn our attention next to Michael Lorenzen. He's been out of the pen for the Reds, doing great, having reduced his ERA from 4.45 to 3.11 to 2.92 over the past 3 seasons. Lorenzen could serve as one of the setup men for the Reds and could potentially also be a 7th or 8th inning guy for the team that tries to hold the lead until the 9th for the closer, Iglesias. Don't forget, he's also a 2-way player and can play outfield for the Reds as well if needed. Another solid reliever out of the pen is AMIR Garrett. Garrett has improved every season in the MLB and had his best season yet in 2019, going 5-3 while posting a 3.21 ERA and putting up a gaudy 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched. Robert Stevenson and Matt Bowman are 2 more middle relievers that had good 2019 seasons for the Reds. Lucas Sims, Jose De Leon, Tyler Mahle, and Justin Schaefer will also be competing for a spot out. Playing the ever-important role of closer for the Reds will be RAISEL Iglesias. Iglesias features a 4-seamer, a hard sinker, a slider, and a changeup. His sinker, slider, and changeup all have good movement and break, and when he is on his game, Iglesias' stuff is pretty filthy. In his 2017 and 28 seasons combined, Iglesias had a mid to low 2s ERA and a whip of 1.09 when taking the average from the 2 seasons, and also averaged better than a strikeout an inning. Over those 2 years, he successfully closed out 58 of 64 save opportunities at a success rate of 91%. In 2019, his ERA spiked up to 4.16 and his whip jumped to 1.22. The strikeouts were still there, averaging better than a strikeout per inning. Looking at his stats, he had 89 punch-outs over 67 innings of work. He still converted 34 out of 40, or 85% of his save opportunities, but in a season this year of only 82 games, every game is really important, so the Reds would greatly benefit from him getting back into the 90% plus range of converting saves. To the positional players, the Reds' likely starters will be as follows. There is some wiggle room in the outfield as well as the shortstop position. Also important to note is that we know the latest proposal for the 2020 season will be an 82-game schedule and will also feature a universal DH, meaning all National League teams will be using a DH at their home ballparks, as well as contests on the road at American League opponents. In addition to a new video detailing the 82-game season proposal, I'll also be preparing a video to share my picks for the best candidate for a designated hitter for each of the National League teams coming up very soon, so please keep an eye out for that. For now, let's take a look at the projected starter for each position. At catcher, the Reds will have Tucker Barnhart. His strength is defense. In 2019, Barnhart had a slash line of 231, 328, 380. In 2018, he had a batting average of 248, and in 2017, he hit at a 270 clip, so he is capable of hitting for a higher average than his 2019 season performance indicates. Behind the dish, Barnhart has a career .997 fielding percentage, and in 2019, he caught 260 innings, only allowing a total of 5 passed balls, which is pretty solid. While Barnhart does excel at keeping the ball in front of him, his throwing arm is pretty average. In 2019, out of 53 steal attempts against him, Barnhart threw out 13 would-be base stealers, which comes out to about 22%. While Barnhart may not be a silver slugger at the catcher position, he is a serviceable catcher who gets on base at a decent rate and can bring value to the team by having the faith of his pitching staff that they can throw their nastiest breaking pitches down in the dirt during clutch situations without fear of the ball squirting away, allowing runners to move up and ruin a double play possibility or a run to score from third. To that point, Barnhart was a 2017 Gold Glove recipient. At first base, the Reds will feature a man who needs no introduction, Joey Votto. While playing defense, Votto is an above-average fielder and can flash the leather at first base, having been a former Gold Glover in 2011. At the plate, Votto excels at getting on base, and has done so for his career at a 42.1% rate. While his power production and average have dropped off a bit in his last 2 seasons after almost winning a second MVP in 2017, entering his age 36 season, Votto remains a disciplined hitter with a good eye at the plate. Votto continues to be an excellent fastball hitter and a clutch hitter the Reds can count on to drive teammates in. As a seasoned veteran, he should also be a good clubhouse presence for the team. Finally, Joey Votto is an absolute grinder at the plate, and his teammates should benefit from seeing lots of different pitches while he is batting. At second base, Mike Moustakas had a 254, 329, 516 slash line in 2019 for the Brewers, while hitting 30 doubles and 35 homers. I spoke earlier at length about Moustakas and believe he is a great addition to the 2020 Reds. At the hot corner, the Reds will have Eugenio Suarez again this year. Suarez is a durable player that plays a good third base on defense, possessing great reaction time to balls hit his way, and also featuring a very strong throwing arm capable of getting the ball across the diamond to first in a hurry. His offensive prowess is well known. Suarez possesses great power regardless of whether he's facing righties or lefties that are towing the rubber. Coming off of a 271, 328, 572 slash line in 2019, Suarez hit 49 bombs and drove in 103. His strikeout numbers are high, but he is a clutch hitter for the Reds nevertheless. At shortstop, there is a bit of uncertainty as to who will be the starter for the Reds, but I feel Freddie Galvis is probably the most likely candidate. While Galvis does have 20-plus home run pop in his bat and can drive runs in, his career OBP is very low at .291, and he strikes out a ton. Freddie possesses an accurate throwing arm, which is good for a premier middle infielder position, but his throwing arm is not necessarily the strongest. Nick Senzel and Alex Blandino are also viable options at short for the Reds. Left fielder Nick Castellanos and center fielder Akiyama were discussed at length earlier in the video, and I believe both will be very impactful players for Cincinnati this season. Like the shortstop position, there is some uncertainty about who will man the last outfield position for the Reds. The most likely choice will be Jesse Winker. In 384 plate appearances in 2019, the lefty batter Winker had a career-high 16 homers and a 269, 357, 473 slash line. Phil Ervin is a little bit better fielder and possesses more speed and a slightly stronger throwing arm. Looking back to July 2019, Ervin had the rare feat of collecting 6 hits in 1 game. Regardless of who starts right field for the Reds, I find Ervin to be an exciting player that I would like to see get more plate appearances this year for the team. In 2019, the righty batter had a 271, 331, 466 slash line. Ervin was also red hot in 2020 spring training, boasting a 409 batting average with 2 homers over 25 plate appearances. The rest of the Reds depth chart is filled out by backup catcher. Looking at the rest of the Reds depth chart, it could potentially be filled out by backup catcher CURT CASALI, utility men Josh Van Meter, Alex Blandino, Derek Dietrich, and Kyle Farmer. Dietrich provided a real spark. He was just red hot for the Reds at the beginning of the 2019 season, hitting 16 home runs in April and May, capped off by a 3-homer game in late May. But then he kind of fizzled out for the rest of the season. Hopefully, he will be able to provide a more consistent spark for the team this year. This is a potential starting lineup that I've put together and feel would be a successful one for the Reds. And it kind of looks like the following here. At leadoff, you have Akiyama. Batting number 2, you have Winker, or maybe Ervin. Number 3, Votto. Number 4, Suarez. Number 5, Moustakas. Batting 6, Castellanos. 7, Galvis, or maybe Nick Senzel. Batting 8th, Barnhart. And 9, Castillo. I like this lineup because I can't imagine the Reds going down 1-2-3 in the first inning often, and it should give Votto and Suarez lots of chances to hit with runners in scoring position. Batting in front of Suarez, Votto should see a great deal of fastballs, and Moustakas and Castellanos should provide protection in the lineup for Suarez so he cannot just be pitched around without consequence. The manager for the Reds this year will again be David Bell, who is part of a rare three-generational baseball family consisting of grandfather Gus Bell, father Buddy Bell, and of course, he himself, David. David Bell simply has baseball in his DNA and has a good deal of talent on the team, so I look for him to be a solid skipper for the Reds in his sophomore season with Cincinnati. With the starting pitching rotation, improved bullpen, and offensive potential Cincinnati has in place, I look for them to be a plus 500 team this year and be in the playoffs. How successful they will be, I feel, comes down to three categories. Number one, Shogo Akiyama adopting to the MLB and setting the table for the RBI men. The Reds have been in need of a leadoff man with some speed, some pop, but most importantly, by far, someone consistently able to get on base. Number two, Trevor Bauer having a much improved season at starting pitcher compared to his time on the Reds at the end of 2019. Number three, RAISEL IGLESIAS having a bounce back season, closing the door in the ninth for the Reds. All right, let's take a look down on the farm at the Reds' top 5 prospects. Nick Lodolo, number 1. He's a 22-year-old left-handed starting pitcher who has been invited to spring training. He throws a fastball topping out at about 96, a slider, and a changeup. Depending on how things go for him in spring training, he could be starting out his 2020 season on Class A Advanced team or the AA Chattanooga Lookouts. His ETA for the big leagues is 2021. Number 2 prospect is Hunter Greene, a 20-year-old righty starting pitcher who is a flamethrower able to rush his fastball up to the plate at 97 to 102 miles per hour. He underwent Tommy John surgery in 2019 and is rehabbing right now. Number 3 prospect is catcher Tyler Stevenson. He's a 24-year-old right-hander that bats right and throws right, who had a great offensive 2019 at AA Chattanooga, slashing 285, 372, 410. Also well regarded defensively. He spent a lot of time in 2019 working on his craft, specifically pitch framing. He's scheduled to have a 2020 ETA to the big leagues. Number 4 prospect is Jonathan India, a 24-year-old third baseman who bats and throws right, who spent the second half of the season on AA Chattanooga in 2019. Considered to be a prospect who may not excel tremendously in any one particular area, but is a well-rounded player. The Reds believe he has great offensive upside, having shown great patience at the plate and has drawn a ton of walks in the minors. The Reds organization believe he has a mechanically sound swing and he has shown flashes of power. After arriving at AA in 2019, he slashed 270, 414, 378. His big league ETA is going to be 2021. Number 5 prospect in their system is going to be a young man named Jose Garcia, who's 22 years old and already being billed as the shortstop of the future for the Reds. He also bats and throws from the right. Garcia has a strong arm, great range, and flexibility, and is considered to be above average defensively. In 2019, with the Daytona Tortugas at the advanced Class A ball level, Garcia slashed 280, 343, 436, and also swiped 15 bases. His ETA to the show is 2021. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of SportStatMedia. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more new content that will be coming up soon. Just as a reminder, I will be preparing a season preview for all 30 of the MLB teams, so check back in as you can. 1 down, 29 to go. I'll also be preparing a video to share my picks for the best candidate for a designated hitter for each National League team soon, so check in.